Well, Bill, it's always great to see you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me back.
No problem. You called yesterday's impeachment hearings a fiasco. What do you think the chances are that Nancy Pelosi may be forced to abandon this whole thing?
I don't think that's going to happen because the Democrats would take a humiliation that I don't think they could recover from. So they'll go, try to justify the process. They know the Senate's not going to remove the president, and they'll let the chips fall. But certainly there is not even close to a high crime and misdemeanor in play, John.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they have no choice to go through with it. But I imagine there are more Democrats this morning who wish there were some backdoor way out of this whole entire thing. And one of them might be Adam Schiff, because he continues to repeat his Pinocchio lie that he hasn't spoken to the whistleblower, his staff hasn't been coordinating with the whistleblower. Democrats, though, say public testimony from people like Mick Mulvaney, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, they could clear up a lot of the confusion here because they actually spoke directly with the president. Do you think they should testify?
I don't think that's going to happen because of executive privilege. It would be a bad precedent, not because of what they might say. It's because, if a president has counsel, it's almost like a client with a lawyer. And you say, okay, well, you can tell him that, it waters down the executive privilege and a client attorney privilege. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think the Trump administration is looking to exonerate itself here. I think they know they're in a strong position going into the election campaign. So I don't see a lot of that happening.
And I think something that's lost on a lot of people, too, is the precedent that could set, as you talked about, and the repercussions that this whole process could have, not just on President Trump, but on the office of the presidency itself.
Well, what people don't understand is when you're speaking and answering questions, you can misspeak.
Right.
I mean, Mulvaney's not the most articulate guy in the world. You can make a mistake. And then if you do, believe me, that mistake, you can't say, oh, I didn't mean that. No. So there's a lot of danger in people coming in to testify under oath. Their memories, nobody's memory is 100%. And I really don't see that happening. I know the Senate says it's going to put on a trial, but I think McConnell's got stuff up his sleeve to get rid of this pretty fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, the corporate media giants, they retreated into their predictable corners of coverage. And there are two completely different narratives depending on which channel you are watching yesterday. And this is a new poll from the Associated Press and NORC, Center for Public Affairs Research, came out. It shows that 47% of Americans believe it's difficult to know if the information they encounter is true, compared to 31% of Americans who say it's easy to tell the truth from fiction. Where are we now as a country, and how do we recover from this?
I don't know if you can ever recover from a corrupt media being controlled by 6 major corporations. And if you don't toe the line, you're out. Not that they fire you, they exile you. So I don't know if we're going to recover from this. Now, the media is balkanized because of the internet. There are a lot of different voices on the net. I'm one of them on BillO'Reilly.com. And that can be a plus if you are an educated consumer. But if you're an idiot and you don't know anything and then you hear this stuff, a lot of people believe, the worst. They believe whatever they want to believe. And that's not how a democracy prospers.
Yeah, the double-edged sword of the internet. There's plenty of choices out there, but you have to always consider the source. Speaking of the big corporate media, I'm sure you've probably seen this exchange between Wolf Blitzer and Kellyanne Conway. It's pretty grotesque, but we're going to play it here. Let's take a look.
I don't want to talk about your marriage. I know that there are issues there. Your husband, George Conway, he's a lawyer.
What did you just say?
Your husband, George Conway.
Did you just say there are issues there? You don't want to talk about marriage?
I don't want to talk about. No, I don't want to talk.
Why did you say that? What you just quoted is said every single day by other voices, but you wanted to put it in my husband's voice because you think somehow that'll help your ratings, or that you're really sticking it to Kellyanne Conway. And let me make very clear, you didn't stick it to Kellyanne Conway. I think you embarrassed yourself.
Is this a new low for CNN?
Well, it's certainly not admirable. It's a tabloid play. I know Blitzer a little bit. I'm surprised he did it.
He looked uncomfortable.
I think he was told to do it.
Yeah.
That's what CNN does. The Zucker and his minions, they order their correspondents and hosts to say and ask certain questions. I don't think this is going to be something that Wolf Blitzer adds to his resume. Let's put it that way.
Well put. We'll leave it at there. Let's talk about something more substantive, and that's Duval Patrick. You said that Joe Biden's probably the biggest loser of this whole impeachment process so far. Duval Patrick getting in the race. How much does his entrance into the race have to do with how badly Biden's been hurt?
Well, I think that's the motivator for him and Bloomberg, is that they see that Biden is a weak candidate. The Ukraine thing, look, Biden's going to be on a campaign trail up against Trump, and Biden's got this thing tied around his neck. He can say he didn't do anything wrong, but everybody saw the tape, and it's a clear shakedown of the Ukraine. There's no other way to put it, and Biden's going to have to live with that, and that weakens him. Now, Trump, he's got stuff too, no doubt about it, but Trump seems to be able to appeal and energize a base much better than Biden does. So I think Duval Patrick, who nobody knows, he doesn't have a chance in hell. But here's the interesting thing, John. He is best buddies with Barack Obama. And they had a talk about this.
Oh, sure.
Patrick sought his counsel. And apparently Obama said, yeah, all right, give it a go, with no possibility that Duval Patrick's going to be the nominee. So that's a pretty interesting thing. I can't really speculate on it, but something's going on.
Yeah, somebody's got to get a hold of Barack Obama and ask him some questions. I'd like to know. And speaking of which, remember when the 2012 election was happening and we heard so much about Mitt Romney's tenure at Bain Capital? Duval Patrick is a Bain Capital alum, too. Do you think we'll hear the media talk the same way about Bain Capital and Duval Patrick's time there as they did about Mitt Romney's?
I really don't think Mr. Patrick, with all due respect, is going to get a lot of coverage of anything. He's not going to be in the debate next week. Then you're into the Christmas season. Then you're into January and the New Hampshire primary. I just don't see a pathway. I don't even think people are going to pay attention to him. Bloomberg get a little bit more attention because he's a little bit more famous. But again, very hard for Bloomberg to make any inroads.
Right.
So right now, the Democratic Party is in disarray. And the only one I could see getting in at the last minute would be Hillary Clinton.
That clip she had from the BBC. I don't know who these people are urging her to get in the race. I would imagine, though, they're very high-paid consultants who could make a lot of money from a Hillary Clinton campaign, whether she wins or not. We'll see what comes of it. Bill O'Reilly, great to see you as always. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest-growing cable news channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for breaking news and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, then share it with your friends. Remember, you can watch Newsmax TV live on YouTube. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.